Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to Eastern Shore Talk, your podcast for all things self care and movies. If you're new and this is your first time joining us, thanks for being here and welcome. We are on episode 28, and as usual, I'm Jay Watson.
And I'm Kathy Castle.
I'm Liza Ledford.
And today we've got a special guest who's going to talk a little bit about their self care and also to talk about a very important upcoming event that she's a big part of. And I will let Kathy introduce our special guest.
Yes, we have a full screen tonight. This is getting a little Brady Bunches tonight, guys. So we have invited our good friend Linda Booz to join us, and I feel like we've got a little Easton group here, right? We've all known each other in some way or another. A lot of us since we were younger, and we've had, at least us girls have had children that have played sports together and gone to high school together. So this is a real small town podcast today. And I love it. I love my small town stuff. So we're glad that Linda has joined us. And tonight we're talking about self-care tonight, but in a little bit of a different way. And what the topic tonight is going to be about self-care, um, around a very serious topic of suicide. So this is not going to be a heavy, hard session. So when you hear that, I don't want anybody to think that, we're going to get into very serious, hard discussion about suicide. But I do want to say that September is Suicide Prevention Month. And that's a very important month to a lot of us because it's a talking point. The month is a time for us to recognize that suicide is a big crisis in our country and for our children and our loved ones and our neighbors. And we want to talk about it, and we want to, get rid of some of the myths, and we want to talk about how difficult it can be for loved ones left behind. And Linda did experience, I think 7 years ago, right, the loss of her son, and he did die by suicide, and that had a pretty big effect on our community. He was in school, so of course the kids had a hard time. Us mamas that are supporting one another had a hard time, and of course Linda, his mom, had a hard time. Um, but I'm so proud of her because she's done such a good job of really trying to move forward, push forward with her other children. Linda is married, and she's employed in our community, and she volunteers in our community, and she's also raising awareness. But I was, with talking to her and trying to support her, myself as a friend, it occurred to me that, wow, there's a lot of self-care needs around people that have had to experience suicide in their family, one of their loved ones. And what does that family member that's left behind do for self-care? I mean, maybe that sounds, I don't know if that's easy to define for some people. I don't know if we've thought about that as community members, but when everything is done, or you're in your home in the evening, or even when you're in the community, the feelings of what has happened, I'm sure, are fresh and are there, and they dip and dive. So, Linda, someone in your situation, I would imagine, has to sometimes work maybe even a little harder than others to figure out how, to stay centered, to put that smile back on your face, to look for silver linings, and just, deal with your day to day, go on with your day to day activities. So I was kind of hoping, that maybe you could share some of the multitude of things that you've tried since you've lost your son, because I know that there's not just one answer. You and I have gotten to talk about that a little bit. I would think immediately people think friends, support systems, maybe even some support groups or therapy. But I know you and I have talked that it's taken a lot more than that to kind of put the pieces back together. So if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit about what you've done for you, for your self-care after the fact, I think that may help some people.
Absolutely. So first, thank you all for having me on. It's a very important topic There's a lot of behavioral health issues, especially now post COVID.
Mm.
Um, I feel like self care after um, grief or any traumatic event looks different for everybody. Everyone, it's a lot like mental health. It doesn't look the same for everybody. There's general things that are recognized, but at the end of the day, it's a unique and individual journey. And so on that journey, I had to find the things that worked for me. The first thing that I did was I sought professional help. I went, and I saw the professionals to see what they offered me. Um, I had a lot of trauma from my son Christopher's death. So some of the traditional things weren't as helpful as I needed them to be at that time. So a lot of what I did was try different things, even if they were kind of outside the box. And I did more of what worked for me personally. And I'll preface this by saying always go to a professional. But at the same time, sometimes traditional medicine needs additional care that's an adjunct, which is part of why Christopher's Foundation, we do try and offer things as an adjunct to professional mental health treatment. So some things that worked for me are local things in the community. And I hope that some of you guys, if you hear this and you're having a tough time and you need to reach out, um, if first of all, get in with professional therapists and doctors. Second of all, what worked for me a great deal was I went and I saw White Lotus Holistics, which is Elizabeth Bohaker, Elizabeth Gear, she goes by as well. And she did energy work with me. She did Reiki, she did meditation. On Monday nights, there would be a meditation circle at Evergreen Cove. It was just so healing and so soothing. And it was something so unique that every time I went, I looked forward to the next time because it would set my mind in a peaceful state. Um, Other things that I did, I would, we have a family farm and I would go
Mm.
there and I would walk and I would enjoy the outdoors. And that's something that I feel like is sometimes forgotten about. Get outside. The more you are inside, um, it is it's it's difficult to understand how good it feels to get outside and get
Yeah.
grounded. Being in nature, being with your pets, that sort of thing
Mhm.
is helpful. Absolutely, family and friends, but and my friends and family were constantly around for me, so I always had a good support system there. Still do, but other things that I did were Elizabeth also introduced me to yoga. So we would go to different places. I think Pulse and Beats was one of the yoga studios that we went to. And I would do that on my lunchtime.
Mm.
And then acupuncture. I
Mm.
saw Caroline Wrightson in St. Michael's. She has Halo Holistics. And so good. When you leave there after your first visit, you feel so much better. I don't know if you've tried acupuncture before, but I didn't know what to expect. They're little thin needles that you don't feel
Hmm.
really. Um, she would light them on fire
Oh
with
my gosh.
something and do her practice, and I loved everything. I would go and I would get massages from. I went to Foremost Massage.
Oh yeah, Julie.
Yes, and I went to see Lori Miller She's great as well, and she also would do some craniosacral therapy on me.
Yeah.
So I, the gym. I wasn't a big gym rat. I have to tell you, as soon as I saw people, I just wanted to go home. So that wasn't my thing, but a lot of people that is. I've heard other people say they like things like jujitsu or tai chi. They felt like had a lot of anger and they wanted to hit
Mm.
something, so they
Yeah.
wanted to do jujitsu and that sort of thing. Um, Gosh, I also, for me personally, because mine was a grief journey,
Yeah.
I talked to Father Nash,
Mm-hmm.
and we meet for coffee, and he's been a good guy to me, so I certainly have appreciated his friendship. I also sought out Lori Wheeler and Lauren Start. They're mediums, and
Mm.
that kind of freaks people out sometimes if they're not
Right.
familiar with it or into it. But it didn't me. It was a healing, peaceful thing. Um, so for me, I had to make a choice. I had to make a choice whether I wanted to move forward or if I wanted to stay where I was at. And I felt like I was doing Christopher a disservice if I didn't do something in his memory to help other people. So it even though there are times when it's very difficult for me, I don't I don't ever want someone to go through what we went through as a family, as friends, as a community. And so I try and advocate for people when I get phone calls from parents and children and different people in different struggles. Um, I do the best I can, and each day I try and do something positive that he would be proud of. But at the same time, just like you say, it ebbs and flows, and you have days where you're kind of not up to it, and then other days you're in a good place and you want to do something positive. And so I've tried to my daughter and I formed the foundation, the Christopher Foundation for Life.
Mm-hmm.
And the first year, she was, just pushing me, Mom, we've got to do this for Christopher. And so we did a run event at the park in Oxford. And then the second year, we did a crab feast at the Oxford Community Center. And we had Dolvette Quince and Lori Wheeler there with Liza.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, I kind of took a little hiatus. And Liza reached out to me and she says, "Hey, what do you think about starting up the run walk event again?" And she asked to do that, and she partnered with some of the other community partners and raised money, and we help people. And I'm going to let you talk about that, Liza.
Okay. I do want to ask you a couple questions.
Yeah,
Oh,
me too. Me too, real quick.
So
Yeah, go ahead,
can we
Kathy.
we have to put our podcast questions in, but Liza, I do want when we're finished for you to give all
oh yeah,
the
no
run
problem.
information. First off, Linda, thank you so much. That was beautiful.
Yes.
We want what she said is what I want to say. Everybody
Hmm.
out there, what she said.
Yep.
Not even if you're now the poster child here for self care. I'm so happy of your list. It's amazing, and I'm sure it's taken a while to get to that, but um, I agree 150%, not even just 100% with everything you said. Nature is such a healer. You've used a lot of different modalities, the yoga and the massage, the acupuncture. I haven't been brave enough to do acupuncture yet, but I'm not against it now. And you've set yourself on fire with acupuncture. I'm like, need to
I
hear more
love
about
it.
it. I'd be like, my nose would start itching, and then my hair would be on fire, then it'd be bald. It would just be a whole thing. But
She's so gentle. She doesn't, you
Jay,
know.
could you see me with acupuncture things on fire? It would not work. I could
No, you.
eventually
I have
see.
a hard time just imagining you sitting still long enough to get a massage, let alone be on fire.
God. Anyway, um, Linda, what I wanted to ask you is, it's kind of a two-part question. One is how long after things happened with Christopher do you think it took for you to get into a routine of getting some self-care for yourself? And I'm also wondering, did you feel this way, or is it common for people out there that have suffered this kind of loss and grief to feel like they kind of don't deserve it? Like I can't do it. I'm not ready, or two, maybe I don't deserve to take care of myself. Maybe because Jay and I talk all the time, self care is not selfish, but when you've experienced this kind of loss, is it easier for somebody to feel like it is selfish? I don't know. I'm just curious what you experienced or what you've heard other people say, and how do we help people get past that if they do feel that way?
So um, I started, well, first I saw Lori Wheeler, and she was an advocate for self-care.
Awesome.
And I would listen to her talk, and she began to talk about self-care. Then, when Caitlin and I were doing the event that was leading up to her talking with Dolvette Quince at the Oxford Community Center,
I was there.
yes, you were trying to find people to come and attend our event, whether they did massage or they did
Yeah.
acupuncture or all those different modalities. And I had made a phone call to Elizabeth, and weeks later she called me back and she said, "I'm not real good about returning my calls." And she giggled and she said, "But this is my what I do." And I said, I think I'd like to try that. And she says, "Really? Well, let's get you set up." And that's kind of how I started it. I didn't, it kind of almost was meant to be or something. I didn't know what to do, to be honest. I just knew I was struggling so much.
Yeah, there's no
And
handbook, right? For how do you
no,
get
and you
this?
just I was I was going and doing the things I was supposed to do medically, but it wasn't making me feel better. And so I understand that there is a time frame where everything is a blur, and I feel like that took 5 years. And and so I finally, each time I would get to a point where I thought, okay, I'm going to start feeling a little better, I would have a setback. And so
Mhm.
everything ebbs and flows. And, you know, we all deal with things in life. Um, we, the death of a parent or a
Sure.
spouse or a pet,
Yeah.
all the different things that trigger that emotional response.
Mhm.
But I had to learn to find things that made me feel a little peaceful or a little restful, because I was struggling so much that I had to do something. Um, so as far as feeling like I deserve it or not deserve it, I really didn't see it that way. What I do understand, as it's been related to me previously, I do understand the mentality that, you know, when I would go somewhere, I would feel conscious of the fact that when I laughed or something like that, oh, I shouldn't be out, I shouldn't be laughing,
Like you
that
didn't
sort of
deserve
thing.
it, maybe.
Yeah, it
Mhm.
wasn't, it was that, I was, it was so painful that to have people see me laugh, it made me feel like I was being, um, I don't know how to describe it, just made me feel like I shouldn't.
Right, like it was disrespecting what happened
Yeah,
or something?
yes, I
Yeah.
guess. But I did also, part of my self-care also, and I can't believe I forgot to mention this, is I made a memory garden out back, and my husband helped me with that. And um, we also had someone come in and set like a back patio. And with the stone from the back patio, he made a little whimsical walk through the memory garden. So I planted things in there that either reminded me of him or my
Nice.
mom or my dad or my
Yeah.
aunt or anyone, you know. And so those things make me feel good when I go out there and I dig around in the flowers and see them growing and blooming. And
Well, yeah, dirt has an impact on us. Digging in dirt definitely
yeah,
has a positive impact on us.
it's very grounding.
Well, I have heard other people say that they felt the same way after, those kind of losses, that if they were out and they were able to get to that, diversion where they can laugh, that they felt, oh my gosh, I shouldn't be doing it. That you're not the only person that I've heard say that. And then, I mean, I feel so bad that people feel that way, because my gosh, you all out of anybody deserves that laughter, and we want to see that laughter. Laughter is such a healing thing as well. But
Well,
I don't
and
know why we tell ourselves the negative things.
it is an inside thought because no one's ever made me feel that way.
Yeah.
It was just something inside that I felt. And at the right after everything happened, my daughter moved to the beach. So I was so at peace there. She went to Destin, Florida, and I loved it because I didn't know anybody there, and it was bright and sunny, and the ocean or the Gulf, I guess it was there. But it was so beautiful, and I didn't know anybody. So if I wanted to, you know, talk or have a dinner out or something, I could.
Yeah. Well, you forgot to tell us one important little thing that happened to you. There's a little person that also changed your mood,
Oh,
right?
I didn't forget to tell you about her. That's Adeline. So I have something to look forward to, and that is my granddaughter. So my children are all doing well. Um, you know, Nicholas is in West Virginia in college. He was in the Marine Corps for about 10 years. He's met someone there, seems to be very happy. Caitlin has gotten married. She's a nurse. Her husband's a pilot, and he actually flew me home last couple weeks ago. That was really cool.
Mm.
But at any rate, they have a little girl, Adeline, and she is a doll baby, and I can't get enough of her. And she's just changed everything. And Brandon is in Georgia right now. He is finishing up. He has a ceremony coming up where it's called Turning Blue, and then graduation from OSUT, I guess. And so we're looking forward to going to that. Um, and we're just, I'm at home with my husband Dyke and our two dogs, and we look forward to any call we get from the kids. We've got an empty house.
Yes.
So Linda, I love everything she said a little while ago, and a couple things. I've got a question for you, but the one thing you said that really struck me was everybody's path is going to look a little bit different, no matter, even if you go through the same type of trauma as someone else.
Absolutely.
Everybody's journey with self care is very personal in a lot of ways. But because Kathy and I've actually talked that, and Kathy and I've also talked about specific activities for self care. And one of the things I wanted to ask you is, of all those things that you tried along the way, was there any one, or maybe there was more than one, that really was a pleasant surprise to you that you would have never anticipated getting as much out of as you did?
Jay, I knew you were going to ask that. I feel like
So,
you're not done this long enough. I knew that you were going to ask that. And I was wondering the same thing.
so they were all beneficial in their own way. I felt like I was brought to that stage at that time. And I think initially I didn't know anything about energy work or acupuncture or yoga or anything like that. And I think somebody somebody gifted me a massage. And so I went and saw Julie at Foremost,
Mm-hmm.
and she has such a soothing manner about
Away.
her.
Yep.
Very friendly, very outgoing, and just made me feel so much better. So I got into, a natural um, habit of going there periodically when I could. And then, like I said, I met Elizabeth, and that's how that happened. And if I had to pick one thing that I will say saved me, I would say that would be Elizabeth.
Mm.
Oh,
Everybody added to that,
sure.
everybody. And like I said, each time I was in a specific place on my journey, but I felt like at times I was the one hanging on by a pinky,
Yeah.
and she saw that for what it was, and um, she's a healer, and
Wow.
she sees a lot of people that are um, anything from grief to everyday maintenance over, all kinds of things, anything from, you know, anxiety, depression, divorce,
Mm.
um, grief, just life, um, relationship issues, you name it, she's probably seen it. And it's really cool because a lot of people look at me like, that's kind of hokey, but it's not. It's the
Mm-mm.
real deal,
Yeah.
and there's something to it. And I was one that I'd never heard about it before, but it really did help me, and I offer that to people if they are at their wits' end.
Well,
I,
and
And these are the maintenance.
we have to settle, we have to calm, settle, whatever you want to say, our nervous system. I mean, it is heightened with grief and stress, and it sounds like what she has done for you. And I find it too when I go get massage, like that's an hour that nobody can get to me. And this is body work where you are, I do think we need to move some of the energy and get some of the toxins out. And, our own cells, our own tissue just needs some attention to just get us more centered. And I think that it's definitely healing.
To me, she was also, and this is a lot of the people that I interacted with, they taught me things. They
Mm.
taught me things that before I might not have needed in my toolbox, but I definitely needed now.
Right.
Um, and that quiet time, like you say, is very beneficial when your mind is so busy playing and replaying um,
Hmm.
certain conversations and events and that sort of thing.
Well,
But she taught me how to meditate, which I did not know how to meditate before. And that like if you listen on the social media platforms, some areas of the world teach that in their schools,
wow.
how to meditate. And I definitely believe in that because it's
Yeah.
something that I did not have any experience with. I did not know what it was. And it's very helpful to me. I do it to this day. If I have had an event trigger me or something like that, um, my husband knows I go in my room and I turn on my meditation music, and it's my time.
That's amazing. And it's not hokey. And I think people sometimes don't want to give things like that a chance, like the deep breathing and the meditating. But, anybody that feels better that has used that. I mean, they say it's life changing for them. And I want to talk about your toolbox. Jay and I talk about toolbox all the time.
yep.
But
Oh, do you
here's what we like. We say in your toolbox, make sure you have the Swiss Army knife that has all the little quick gadgets that you need, right?
Yep.
right? I like that.
Which is self care is the Swiss Army knife. It's kind of that the go to tool that kind of will work, depending on what you do. And Kathy, it's funny. You and I talk about all the time we've had episodes where we've talked about specific activities that we can all try, and it's certainly important to find those go-to that are kind of personal to each of us. But I think there's also value, like you were saying, Linda, in trying things that you would have never thought about,
That's
going
right.
outside the box, because you don't know where, like you said, Linda, you would have not found value in it prior, but because of what you were going through at the time, it fit well, and you never know. And it doesn't have to be something that is something you always do, but it might fit that specific season of whatever you're going through, and then you go try something else. So I think there's value in going outside the box, and I would have never thought Jay Watson would have ever said try something new and go outside the box ever. But it's there's so much value that can be found there.
It's something that, you know, for me, I felt like it landed in my lap at the right time.
Yeah,
Um, all of the things, when I talk about each one teaching me something. So, maybe Lori Wheeler taught me about self-care, um, or opened the door to it. And then I went and got massage, and then I was doing the event, and I talked to Elizabeth, and I met her, and then maybe she led me to, um, more, things like maybe acupuncture or something like that. So each one has kind of,
its own
and
place.
and I don't want to discount, my friends were a big part in my life too, but sometimes you need that quiet time too.
Hmm.
I mean, I love all my friends, and I have different, groups that I hang out with and that sort of thing, and the ones that have been there since day one. And I feel like, um, they they bring a lot to the table as well. If you don't have someone that you can relate to and talk to, I've had conversations with absolute strangers and remember thinking, why did I disclose that to her?
Yeah.
But it was on your heart,
Hmm.
and so it just came out. Um, you need somebody to talk to as well, and that's where therapy comes in.
Yeah.
Therapy, you have to have the right therapist though. That's my thing is, you know, everything's got to line up and
It's
it's
got to
got to
fit.
match.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's
not
helpful.
everybody is a match for everybody. I think it's very important to figure out who that is and what that organization is, because everybody has different, styles. So what
And
matched you?
if, you know, when Christopher passed that year, there were a handful of suicides. They were prominent people that people
Yeah.
knew and related to. They were coaches,
Mhm.
they were businessmen, they were fathers, they were friends, they were children, they were, um, you know, people could relate to them. And for some reason that year, there was a lot in our community. And I felt like that impact, um, in our little area brought about a change where a lot of our, local mental health providers really, really stepped up, whether it was Kathy, your channel marker, and you have your inpatient, facility, or For All Seasons, and they have their same day,
Access, yeah.
access. Or, I there's so many more. The mobile crisis unit,
Hmm.
the Midshore Coalition that has been founded between, local interested parties. Um, there's a lot of things happening to try and reduce the stigma around, behavioral health, mental health, anxiety, depression, all the words, right? Um, and I really feel like kids are and people are able to pick up the phone now, so and more so than when, um, a decade or so
Yeah.
ago when everything was just quiet, keep it quiet.
I wouldn't mind mentioning a couple of resources while we're talking about it. I mean, Linda, you're absolutely right. And I've seen a lot of data about suicide. And, it's not just those people, it's everybody. It's faceless. It's you name it. You're right. Coaches, doctors, dads, kids, it doesn't care who you are. And the thing I'm most worried about with suicide is that I'm afraid of the population of people, and maybe this is most people, right? That they're afraid to say, I'm not doing well right now, and they don't know what to do about it. And then they feel like they're a burden to someone else. I'm so worried about that. And they feel like they can't say something because they might lose their job. Think about the first responders, the police officers, they're afraid they may lose their job, their livelihood, or whoever. But so we've just got to be better at being there for people. And I mean, how I really got into this work, besides the profession I'm in, I had a family member. My cousin's son took his life, and he was a young person and had kids. And you know I sat back myself as a clinical social worker and was like, I don't even know if I can help my own family. This is just, I felt paralyzed. So I had to do a lot of searching and educating myself about what's out there. How can we really talk about this? And so that's what really led me personally, what was my own family, and trying to understand what happened and how to help them. And, then watching so many people. I mean, we know, you and I know, you and I and Liza and Jay, we know people that have been struck by this tragedy,
Yeah.
traumas. And it's like, gosh, you just want to put your arms around everybody and say, we're going to do this together. But there are a lot of resources out there, and I will just name a couple. I mean, you guys could even go on my website, my work website, which is channelmarker.org. And on that, for example, there's a tab called More, and I have the Midshore Suicide Coalition is on there. And if you click on that and literally click on the icon, the logo, a lot of resources come up, right? There's also a section under More that's the Art of Wellness. And that was a series of videos put together by Kevin Hines, who Kevin attempted to take his own life in the year 2000 by jumping off the Golden Gate Bridge. Well, Kevin has made the rest of his life, he says he will never die by his own hands. But if that impulsive moment when he was 19, that was what he thought he should do. But he has spent his life trying to help others not do that. And he has made several videos of what he thinks is a good path to wellness. So that's on there too. We know now we have the 988 number. That's a national line that can be called or text if someone is struggling. There's a big push for all of us to get that out there, that free resource.
And that's
So,
amazing. That's something new that came up
yeah,
afterwards.
there was a lot of work into getting that put into place. We're all used to 911, which obviously is still a resource, but 988 is specifically for people who need to talk for help. American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, lots of good resources on their website. NAMI, which is a group for family members. There's just tons of resources out there, really. So any way we can be helpful, we all just want to be helpful. And these coalitions are great because then all of the agencies like ours and individuals and foundations, we can come together and share our resources, share our speakers, share our events, which is why Liza needs to tell us about your event, right?
Yes, I was
Well,
just going to
and I
say,
think
yeah.
I think that's one of the good things about being a part of the community and the mental health community as well is when you go and you see a speaker that is a doctor, a person that's attempted, a person that is bringing you their knowledge because they're um, some sort of advocate for um, behavioral health. You see other um, providers, other professionals, other parents, other interested people at those talks and those that to me says they care. It doesn't matter that it's not their event or it's not, that person's specialty. They're there to support the whole movement. And
Yeah.
that is to reduce the stigma, to save people, to, just get that wellness component in there, with the professional component, and make people feel better. When I was younger, I knew of one person, who had died by suicide, and he was a local person. And now I can't count, and I don't understand. I can't count how many there are, and I
No.
don't understand what all has changed that has so negatively impacted that. It's anything to me, it's anything from the cell phones to the social media to the lack of
Agreed.
outdoors and all the different things. Um,
Lack of family support. There's a ton of
Yeah.
you
things.
know,
Yep.
there's and sometimes that's the other thing for me. I hear all these things and I'll sit there and cherry pick. Nope, we did that. Nope, we did that. Or, I didn't think about that one. Or, everybody's different, and everybody, some are very outspoken and they want to get help and get therapy, but others aren't, and they're very not secretive, but very
Private.
quiet, very private, and you have
Especially
to
men.
pull it out of them. And so you don't know what's going on, and you don't know what's going on in their head. And, um, you know,
You're
I
right.
just think that all the resources pulling together for that common cause, and, September being Suicide Awareness
Suicide
Month, right?
prevention.
Prevention.
Look, here we go. We got a double month.
Yeah.
September is Suicide Prevention Month. October is
Mental
Mental
Health Awareness Month.
Yeah.
Illness Awareness Month. I have to think about that because May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So
So
we got a couple months to tackle.
one of the first things when we were getting ready for our first run is we were trying to figure out something to say or something to put out there. And Liza came up with it, and we just have used it ever since, off and on. And it was lift, but it was L and then the semicolon and then FT. And the message was based on Father Nash saying in church, if you can't lift someone up, then, I guess maybe don't say anything at all or something like that. But we liked that message about lifting other people and helping other people. And so, you know, got to
I
give
like
credit there
that.
because she came up with that and we really
I like
liked it.
that.
Yeah, it's L with a semicolon and FT, lift.
That's such an important part of self care. Is serving others is actually a part of self care, and it sounds kind of backwards, but it's very important.
Well, and you wish we're in such a divided world right now. You see it on every landscape. My gosh. And I'm like, can we just be nice? Like if we gotta get meanness out, we all got meanness in it. I'm like, find a place to vomit that meanness out. But in general, we need to lift each other up and be there because we're all struggling. We all have stuff that happens to us every single day. You feel like potatoes are getting thrown at you every day. It's just like come on, and loneliness is such an epidemic since, probably maybe even before the pandemic. And I don't mean like, oh, somebody, Jay lives by himself. I mean, anybody can be lonely. Anybody can feel like nobody gets how I feel right now. And my brain is in a lot of pain and I'm exhausted. And that's
Yeah,
not, you need to be lifted up because you're down.
But that's the part where it's so hard to be gentle with yourself.
Yes,
It
we're horrible to
it's
ourselves.
we're the hardest on ourselves.
yep,
My husband was a very big advocate for me because I
Mhm.
was struggling and I had actually had a reaction to a medication, and he had to go in there and advocate on my behalf because I couldn't. And throughout all of this, he's been there picking me up, propping me up. Um, I wouldn't want to go places. He'd bring me food. I wouldn't want
Oh,
to cook
he's a good boy.
anymore. I didn't want to. I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to go see this one or that one. I didn't. People would come over and just stuff, right? And he just knew that I needed him to just let me be sometimes. And we all have to. You either grow together or you grow apart.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we
And
see that too, right?
and that can be from anything in life.
Right.
But um we made that decision early on, dealing with this traumatic event for our family, that these were our cumulative children, and we
Yeah.
were we're a blended family. But we never felt like that, if that makes any sense, because you
Mhm.
know the kids were small when we met, and we've always done what we can to make everyone um, safe and happy and all the different things. And um, we knew that this was a true tragedy, and that um, we had to be there for each other. And that's what we did.
I think you've done an amazing job at it.
So Liza, tell us about this awesome event that we're all going to be a part of next month down in
Yes.
Oxford.
Yeah, you guys are making me so happy because I do think it was born out of the crab feast. So Linda, you guys, when you first came here and did the crab feast, and you had the different vendor tables all around, and the auditorium was
Silent auction.
full, and everybody was vested, and everybody was getting something out of just talking and meeting each other. And really, that I think the run walk again this year will hopefully feel a little bit of that, reminiscent of the shared idea of being together and different services and different offerings, and like get a sample of this and a sampling of that, or take a pamphlet home. I'm really excited about that part, that the walk has grown to again have more of those tables hopefully around, and different services being awareness in front of this run walk. I'm so glad you let this come back into reality, and we can use Christopher's legendary personality to unite everybody, and get us back to nature and all of that kind of energy and good sportsmanship, and all of that the run walk brings. I'm so glad we can be side by side in doing this event again in October, and that you have grown this to be, with these bigger, now both of you guys as sponsors and partners, like be able to bring more of the awareness and education element to that morning. I think is a really great progress for the day, and I'm happy it's grown in that way.
So how
So
can somebody sign up?
So everything's on the Oxford Community Center website. So you go to oxfordcc.org, and you find the Christopher Foundation for Life logo, which is this wonderful tree and a sneaker on the bottom. So get your sneakers on, Christopher Life logo, Foundation for Life logo, and you just click in, you register, and everything is right there. A little bit of links to the websites. And I remember being really proud. Like people would say, why isn't this, what is Christopher Foundation for Life about? Who is this organization? And we knew, Linda, we said it from the very beginning. We're like, it's this gap company. It's a foundation. The money that is raised is spent for anyone who's in flux, or anyone who wants to spend outside of or in line waiting for services, or you had money to support people who were going to try something outside of the box, or maybe needed appointments that their insurance weren't paying for yet. Like, you had great resources available through this special little private foundation to fill those voids that at that time were even more everywhere than they are maybe now, it seems like. But it was such an important little piggy bank to put money into for those gap services. And I'm so proud that you've done this, and you've really did fill that and grow this whole thing as well.
Well,
So
I can't
Liza,
thank you enough for starting it back up, because when you called, I was like, she is. she's a star, man. She just
Aw.
always wants to do something for someone. And this is something for the community because it brings the community together. I love seeing the moms out there walking. I love seeing the kids out there walking.
Yeah.
The professional athletes that are competing to do the 5K and the 10K.
Yeah.
You know, I love that people bring in their friends and family from outside of our community. They have relatives from far away and they bring them in. You know, it each year it grows, and I love that. And the people that it helps, I think they would fall through the cracks. I think they wouldn't get self-care because they wouldn't be able to afford it. They wouldn't know where to go.
Mhm.
I also think that the people that call me and say, "Who do you recommend?" or "What do you do?" I always preface it and I say, "Look, I'm not a professional. If I had it to do over again, this is what I would do." For me, um, you know, things were very different then. It was the worst perfect storm. So to have all of these resources that I've met through contacts and friendships, um, you know, I have to give a plug because one, Kathy came to the house when Christopher passed. We played ball with the Castle kids, and they grew up with Brandon and Christopher, so they knew our family. Um,
And I
and
just came. I didn't even ask. I just
it
felt
was
like we
so
had to
amazing
come.
to see, you know, you expand your service to have that inpatient ability for
Our
youth,
crisis
for
beds.
people in this area
Mhm.
to receive treatment because there's just not enough resources. Um, and then, you know, for all seasons, I had Beth Ann reach out to me, and she helped me with several people. But also, you know, I now am able to give back, and I sit on the board
Mhm.
at For All Seasons, and so I get to advocate and I get to participate and I get to, you know, I get to see firsthand what some of these groups are doing to help the community. Kathy and is it Midshore Behavioral Health
Mhm.
uh, joined all of the communities together to form the what is it? The
Suicide
Coalition
coalition.
for
Yeah.
Suicide Prevention.
Yeah.
And so that is everything. That's from mobile crisis right on up to every provider, right on up to government, to
Yeah.
police agencies, all the different things. So all this is progress. And I
Yes.
see billboards that say, you know, if you need help, call us. And
988. Yeah.
I see signs that say, no matter what, you know, you matter because they want someone to get the help they need and they
Mhm.
want you to reach out. And that's the important part is, you
Mhm.
know, you don't know people are struggling all the time. It doesn't it doesn't cost you anything to be kind, just like you've heard people say. Um, and to, and there's our little plug to lift somebody up. I mean,
Yeah.
God knows I have not been a ray of sunshine all my life. I have things, I have regrets, I have times when I was not the best person. But at the end of the day, with everything that I have been through, my my goal is to always be able to do the best I can to help somebody. And if they're struggling, put them in contact with the agencies that know what to do. And if they need a hand up, I'm happy to do what I can to help someone.
I love it. I feel like we need a group hug.
I know, I felt the exact same way.
So
Totally.
give us the date and time of the run walk event.
October
19.
19th. And it's early. So come at like 8. We're going to do some calisthenics, fun music, some coffee, all that good stuff. Then 9 o'clock is like get going out the, blow the horn, 9 o'clock, the race starts, and you get back, 10, whatever. This is one of the first years we've added the 10K to go through Oxford, different and long. So we have 3 different courses. There's walks. You can walk them, run them, whatever you want. But for the serious runners, the 10 and the 5 are bibs, timed, so you can really enjoy that for your exercise program. And it's a great day. It's a great morning. Well, this year we've
Nice.
added some festivities at the finish line. So I think we'll have like a beer truck or something to come and
Yes.
celebrate.
There'll be a little
And
beer
so,
garden.
yep.
But it is a fun event. That's the thing is, we do get serious when we talk about things that are tough conversations. But this event is also a fundraising event. And we put the FUN in fun, don't we, Liza?
Yes, we do.
Nice.
Yeah.
So Kathy, real quick, speaking of events, talk about what's coming up this Saturday at Ottawa Park in Easton.
Yeah, this Saturday there's an Out of the Darkness walk for the Midshore, and that's put on by the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, and that's at Ottawa Park. Starts around 9 with some ceremonial type of things, and 10 o'clock it'll be a walk. But there'll be vendor tables there as well, and that's something that's held annually. These Out of the Darkness walks are all over the country, but brings awareness to suicide prevention and education, and that's what we're trying to do here today. So come out if you want. Some people have signed up for teams, but don't let that stop you. You can just come out and walk and visit the vendors and hear the speakers talk about what they've been through. It's hope. We're talking about hope, you guys. HOPE.
In
I
progress.
love that
Yeah.
four-letter word.
That's another four. There's a lot of bad 4-letter words, but there's a lot of good ones.
Yeah, there is.
Love, hope.
I feel like you guys really
Lift.
need to know everything you guys are doing. I think the other 4-letter word is easy, because I think like it's really hard for people who are struggling to make that first phone call, especially if they're one of those private people. So if everything you're doing is making it easier for that private person to think, I can do this, I can pick up the phone.
Bridging the gap. Yeah.
Hey, guess what? And guess what else is a 4-letter word? Self.
Yep.
And love.
And care.
And scare.
Yep.
Yeah.
So speaking of self-care, we're going to transition real quick and do a little movie / streaming talk. And I know, Kathy, you're excited to talk about something because you actually got a chance to watch a movie that I've seen.
Listen, I get excited because Jay has this really cool life, where he's like Siskel and Ebert, and he can give the movie, he's the movie critic or whatever. And I'm just like, darn it, I don't know what that is, or I haven't seen it. So I watched something, so I'm proud of myself. And I saw Twisters. So I loved it. I thought it was a good movie. And I'm this is just probably because I'm old. I can't even remember the original movie of Twister. And I'm sorry, Liza. I just don't. I need to go back and watch it.
Liza actually worked on that one. So Liza got a connection to that one. Yeah.
I remember the original.
But I'm admitting I don't remember. But I will say this without giving away that movie. I definitely think it's worth seeing. They've got some really good Luke Combs music in there. I was like, yeah. And whatever smart person put Glenn Powell in that movie. I mean, that
he's the it guy right now in Hollywood.
Yeah, he's Glenn. There's some charming about Glenn Powell.
He's so likable. He's just so likable. Yeah.
Yeah. So, ladies, go on and see the movie. But it was good. I really enjoyed that movie, and I didn't fall asleep or anything because I'm a little bit of a snoozer. I'm like an old man, so if I stream something at home, I start getting a little more comfortable, and then my eyelids go. But I stayed awake. Mm-hmm. It was good.
I actually liked it better than I liked the first one, and I liked the first one.
Did well. I have some behind the scenes stories about the first one, so that at least adds in some fun, something or other. But I remember it was one of the first jobs I got moving from being in development, which is where you read the scripts and you decide yes or no if your studio is going to buy something. So being part of the team and deciding yes on the script. But then that was the first project I got to stay on as like an associate, where I had one foot in the script writing world and one foot in the production world. And imagine that, right? I had a crew of about 125 people, and one of my jobs as a new young kind of person in the production field with them was moving that crew to 7 different locations chasing storms. So we'd get like a national call from some national weather forecasting site.
Wait,
Like,
were these real? Like
You
they
had
were
to
real?
really go?
yes.
Okay, wait. This is
They were
news.
really chasing storms. Yeah.
Danger,
This is
danger,
news.
girl.
This is news. This is news.
This was one of my biggest jobs ever. Was like Hilton, Hyatt. I got 125 people coming in hot. I got trailers with ice machines coming. Where can you put it?
So these are real live storms.
A lot of them are, but then also there was ILM did the all the effects. Like I got to watch. This is one of the other really fun little stories was when we got to see Spielberg was watching the tests of the special effects, and in his office it looks like it's a desk, but then all of a sudden it rises up and it's actually a big computer screen. It was back in the 90s, so it was like one of those very first times a big computer screen rises up from a hidden dresser, and ILM was like fiber optics like into his office, and they showed that first scene where the cow was like flying across the sky or something, and like, do you like it, do you like it? It's like one of our test runs, and it was like all the CGI graphic things were happening for that movie. So those were all, I wouldn't say first offs or cutting, but they were very early in the beginning of making that stuff real and cool. And I was of course the fly on the wall in the back, like taking all the notes for the meeting, but being in those meetings where they were interacting about those new ways of doing the CGI and everything was so fun and awesome. And then my other favorite thing about it was like, this is what when I go to career talks for high school students, I'll often say the movie business is inside of your world. If you want to be in like gardening, if you want to be in construction, if you want to be in engineering, if you want to be in all those different fields, have a place in the movies. This was like we had that one house in the movie, in the original movie, it like crumbles in this tornado, just smashes to smithereens. Well, we could push a button and it's reset.
Wow.
We're going to go to the Universal lot. And then it smashed again. Go again. Take 2, take 5, so it smashes down the exact same every time. Push a button, it resets. I was like, wow. If I was a kid, I'd want to make those houses.
Right
like,
now.
how fun is that?
Yeah.
And all the greenery, like, anyway, it's all fabricated, but it has to be real looking, especially and like real and purposeful. So those were really fun.
Liza, you just came 1,000% cooler than I thought.
I know. It's so interesting.
Chasing real storms back in the day.
You are
really
such a
movie to work on.
badass. I did not know
I'm gonna have to find her some ruby slippers.
A lot of it was just like, oh,
don't bring those monkeys and witches in. Nope.
Right. It was such a great run to learn on, and so many.
Don't you wish Glenn Powell was in your movie?
I know, right?
You had who? Bill Paxton was in yours?
He was. It was really funny. I will tell you another little secret while I hang up on this next phone call.
Sorry, caller. Sorry, caller number 2.
You're not the right caller number.
We were working at 7:00. But yeah, it was really funny because Helen Hunt and Bill Paxton didn't really get along very well. And you can probably feel a little bit of that. I don't know. I won't put that out there. But anyway, and every other couple of weeks, we'd get some rewrites that were all like, she had a lot more going on in the movie all of a sudden. And then he'd come in and be like, what? What about me? How come I can't talk? Like, so they would go every other week would be like new script written, revisions on who was going to get that scene or get that scene. And it was like, it was tough on the two of them. And I don't know.
You're like, just go push the button and make the house go up and down. Then you'll feel better.
Exactly. It was a lot more about those special effects for that movie than it was about, I think, necessarily those two actors. But it was a lot of fun.
I gotta go visit that movie.
Yeah.
So what about you?
I want to play movies that I worked on at one point and just pause them and then tell like a story about a fight that happened in between that scene.
Yeah.
Do that, please.
It'd be fun.
Maybe we should do that on we could have an Eastern Shore Talk movie session.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes Hollywood Scoop edition. What about you, Linda? Anything you've been watching or have watched that you really enjoyed lately?
So I just had the girls over for a hot tub night,
Oh,
and we watched Horizon, which was the
Oh
new
yeah, Kevin Costner.
Kevin Costner movie.
Yep.
It was good.
I love
It
Yeah,
was
that.
good.
I loved
Um,
it.
it was good. There must be like a gazillion more coming because they leave you hanging. There's
Mhm.
Well, there's
chapters or something, I believe.
yeah, there's a second. Well, here's the interesting story about that. The I'm not a Western person at all, but I went and watched it, and I actually was I do like Kevin Costner. I loved it, and it flopped at the box office. So part two was supposed to be released in the theaters the following month. They pulled it, so it's now just going to be part two is just going to be on streaming, whatever streaming network.
Hmm.
So
It,
I
it
I cheaped out. We were supposed to go to the movies, and something fell through. Something came up, and we couldn't go. So we decided that we would do a hot tub night, and we would rent it.
yeah,
Well, it was 19.99 for a long time. It just
yeah,
came down to
that's
5.99.
yeah,
because that's what I just spent the high dollar for Twisters because it's like I feel like there's this mid stage where it's like you cheap SOBs didn't make it to the movie, so we're gonna make it. We're gonna go in the $20 range until
yeah.
it goes to the $5 rental range.
Right.
Yeah.
That's our penalty for not going to theater.
And as
So
my
I
brother would say, he said that's your way of voting. That's your way of talking to the industry. And those dollar things are kind of the only way they can tell what you want or what you will tolerate or what you're
yeah.
voting
So I watched something really interesting last night on Hulu. It's brand new. It's called Child Star, and it's Demi Lovato narrates it, and she talks to Drew Barrymore, Raven Simone, Christina Ricci, and Keenan Thompson, and talks about like all the pitfalls of growing up as a child star in Hollywood.
I
for.
bet.
Liza, you could probably talk about this a little bit, but of course, Drew Barrymore's story is like one of the most extreme stuff that she did at a very young age. She's been very open about it, and it was, and Demi kind of told her story, and I was not really familiar with the beginnings of her story on the Disney Channel and that kind of thing, and um, it's kind of it's sad that these young people are put under so much pressure, not just by the industry but by their parents to be the breadwinners, and just all that's involved with it. It's about an hour and a half long. It's just one episode, but it was very enlightening, but it was sad, and it was worth a watch for sure.
Yeah, I could definitely appreciate that. I remember, you know, doing Jurassic Park, the first one, and auditioning those two young kids. And it was kind of the first big break for both of them, but it was a lot about the parents. I
Really?
don't know if those two ever even really moved on. I think maybe they did a one and done kind of thing in their family, but it was really interesting to watch that.
Yeah,
So what do you mean about that? What do you mean about the parents? Just having to deal with them or
Like,
like there's a lot of parents that just become it becomes about pushing their kids to be, because they become the breadwinners.
they want them to be the star?
Yeah, and they become, especially if you blow up like Demi Lovato did, and Drew Barrymore, like
So many of them, the Disney stars, the Nickelodeon kids,
the
whatever.
Jonas Brother, all those. Yeah, and I've forgotten all those kids from the Nickelodeon. Yeah, I've forgotten all those, and so many of them blew up, and some kind of
Britney
steering the back.
Spears even.
Well, they showed like glimpses of the Mickey Mouse Club, and I didn't realize all the people that were in the that version of the Mickey Mouse Club.
Timberlake,
yeah,
right?
Timberlake,
Brittany.
yeah.
And Ryan Gosling, and oh, what's her name? I can't remember, but Christina Aguilera, and it was a bunch of them. Um, But anyway, all right, guys.
Very talented, though.
Last question about TV stuff. Have you guys seen the Perfect Couple with Nicole Kidman on it?
Yes,
I
really
have.
good. Yes,
I think
really
that's so
good.
much fun. It's worth binge watching, I think.
Yeah.
That's 2 cents.
I didn't realize it came from a book.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't either.
Really good cast.
I want to see it.
A little bit surprising how it turns out. I won't give it away because
Exactly.
yeah. Leah Schreiber's really good, like really, really good. Dakota Fanning's good. It's just a really good movie. What's weird is, and they've actually talked to the actors about this, is the opening of the each episode is not in tune with how the series is.
Right.
It's they filmed it at a scene that's a wedding rehearsal dinner,
Mm.
and they're all dancing and they're doing this choreographed dance and having fun, and that is not the theme of the show at all. And they've
Oh,
actually
really?
in their press tour they've been asked that question a lot,
Yeah.
and it's
That
I
dance
have,
is worth seeing for sure.
it is. It's cool, but I have to fast forward it, Liza, because I'm like, this
I
doesn't
want to see
fit.
it again.
This doesn't work for this. I got to get to the action.
Right. Yeah.
What
it's fun.
when does Outer Banks come out? I am
It's soon because it actually showed up on Netflix. It said coming soon, so
I
it's got the coming soon tab on it
you
now.
guys watch that? Oh,
I
Yes,
did when Mason
yes,
and Allie were home.
God, I love
I,
that. I
I
love it.
liked it too. I was pleasantly surprised. I was talked into that, and I ended up liking that a lot.
John B.
Yeah, old Chase Stokes.
Oh.
All right, guys. So that's it for this episode of Eastern Shore Talk. Liza, and especially you, Linda, I want to thank you, a big thank you for sharing your story and helping others find their way with self care through whatever trauma they're going through. Um, it was an
Thank you for
awesome
having us.
conversation. Absolutely. So, you guys, as usual, you can find us on easternshoretalk.org, on Facebook, on Eastern Shore Talk groups. And don't forget, our first live episode of the Eastern Shore Talk podcast will be October 1st at 5:30 at the Oxford Community Center. So come on out and join us there, or you'll be able to watch us live on social media. So you guys take care, and we will see you next time.